Imagine hitting sales target every single month, every single quarter, and every single year. Many sales teams struggle, but lack of effort is oftentimes not the reason why they are not performing. In today's video, I'm going to share with you the most common reasons for the lack of performance of sales teams or sales individuals, and I'm going to also try to give you a couple of ideas for the tactics as to how to tackle them and make your sales team as efficient as possible. So the first reason that oftentimes I find to be the reason why the sales team is not performing amongst my customers, and also that I have experienced in the past while running my own businesses, was the lack of leads. A lot of times I see the situations in which sales teams or sales professionals are being hired in the organizations, especially in B2B, and there is this expectation that a salesperson will just be selling, right? So this is what the salesperson does. This salesperson sells. And sure, salesperson should actually be selling. But what is problematic is that not all of the salespeople are used to generating leads of their own. Not all of the salespeople have their own Rolodex or list of 1,000 contacts on their mobile, which they can call, especially if they come from a different industry to your industry and you expect them to start making phone calls and generating leads. This might be pretty hard, if not impossible. Oftentimes, the reason for the lack of performance of sales professionals is that they do not have the leads to work on. The perfect or near perfect ideal situation is that a salesperson should receive a lead, a contact, and it doesn't matter if this is a contact that you have generated on a conference that you just attended as a business owner, or that this is some sort of a contact from your network that you are sort of passing on onto the sales person, or this is a lead coming from a website because someone is interested in your product or services and filled out the form on the website. The actual reality should be that a salesperson is working on leads. Or if this salesperson is not working on leads, this should be stated very clearly from the very beginning of this relationship, and time of this salesperson should be devoted to lead generation if necessary, and also to working on the current leads. Oftentimes this is being overlooked, and oftentimes even if this is being stated from the very beginning, it is expected from a sales professional to have their own strategy, tactic, or approach to lead generation process. And again, this is sometimes very tricky because oftentimes entrepreneurs just expect, business owners just expect from a sales professional that they will just think of the way to generate leads, because after all, they are salespeople. But especially in today's reality in B2B, the role of marketing is so important that it might be very hard or even next to impossible for a salesperson in a particular industry to generate leads on their own. For example, IT industry, high volume sales, high ticket sales, sales processes that last for 9 to 12 months. It is very hard for a salesperson to just start making phone calls or start looking on LinkedIn and catching a big fish that would like to spend $1 million or $2 million for a product, service, or implementation of a particular piece of software. It is pretty important to set up the expectations at the very beginning and to try to understand a broader context of what is the salesperson actually about to do and what is the reason why they are not doing what you expect, and also if this was actually stated at any point in time. The second most common reason that I find to be the reason why salespeople are not performing, why sales teams are not performing, is the lack of proper management. And there are multiple different sort of buckets that I can name when it comes to lack of proper management. The first pretty common situation is that when a salesperson is being promoted to a sales director, sales manager, or someone like that. And while, of course, this can work and this can produce some great results, oftentimes a person that is a great salesperson is not a great sales manager. These are two completely different things, or at least pretty different things when it comes to the competences that someone should have. Let me give you a couple of examples. A salesperson's job is to make follow-ups, make phone calls, prepare good deals, have convincing arguments, be able to negotiate properly. These are the things that a salesperson needs to do. While sales manager should be aware about certain KPIs that you have in place. They should proactively work with these KPIs and propose new ones or remove the old ones. They should look for blind spot in process. They should motivate the sales team. They should see who needs what kind of support and coach them a little bit. These are completely different things, and sometimes someone who is a great salesperson, sales professional, they just do not know how to do these things because no one taught them ever. It is pretty good to understand that difference, and if you are planning to give someone promotion, maybe you should also consider providing them with a good training to actually execute the job well. And I know that I am being boring about it, but I think that there is no efficient sales machine, there is no efficient sales processes if you do not have a CRM. Implementing CRM can be as easy as devoting a couple of hours in the afternoon in order to set things up for you. And then, of course, implementing processes in place and encouraging people to use the tool. Of course, this is the hardest part, right? But once you do that, after a couple of weeks, you can see the patterns emerging from your system, from your CRM. You can see what is going well, what is not going well, where the things are stuck, what are the differences between the performance of every sales professional in your team, and you can compare the amount of tasks that they are executing, the amount of follow-ups that they are doing, and then you can discover things that are working, and also you can get rid of the practices that are being counter-effective. The third most common reason for the lack of performance of sales teams is lack of goals. And there are two types of goals, at least that I know of, in a sales team that you can have. The first ones are targets, sales targets, so the goals that people need to hit in order to get certain tier of commission, or if you do not have tiers, then some sort of commission. And the other type of goals are just goals that are related to performance or the things that need to be done within a particular time frame. So these might be, for example, executed tasks. These might be prepared proposals, executed meetings. This can be very different depending on the industry that you are in or the needs of your business. So I don't say that every sales team needs to have goals around tasks being executed in a particular week or a day. But I do believe that if you have interns in your sales department, if you have junior people that are only starting their way into the sales processes and they are doing certain activities like supporting senior sales professionals or doing cold calling or outreaching to people in various formats, ways, and so on. It is pretty good to have these kind of things in place in order to be able to accurately evaluate performance of these people. If this video is anyhow interesting to you so far, please make sure to subscribe to our channel to help us grow and give us thumbs up. And another reason why your sales team might not be performing as well as you would like them to is that there are unclear expectations. Sales is oftentimes complex. I understand. And oftentimes it is dependable on so many factors and so many individual characteristics of people and experiences and the things that are happening in your industry, in your business. It is sometimes extremely complicated. But trust me, there is always a way in which you can define a process, in which you can define some patterns and do things that will simplify things for you and for the sales professionals. And it is not shameful at all to admit that we were wrong or we did something well or this used to work in the past, now it doesn't work. What do we do about it? And also include the sales professionals in these considerations and discussions, because having unclear expectations or too ambitious expectations can lead to internal tensions in a department, can also lead to a lot of stressful situations for these people and individuals, and also can further decline their performance. But if we will include them into process of discovering why the things that we were doing for so long are not working anymore, just an example, you may may pretty quickly see that, the solutions to challenges or to problems emerge naturally. Furthermore, balancing ambition of us entrepreneurs and realistic planning is something that oftentimes is being overlooked in the planning of the quarters or the fiscal years. And I think that this is also pretty important to look at the numbers that we've had last year and to see if this is actually realistic within the current landscape to just double it or triple it or however more you would like to get from the sales team. And last but not least, adjusting plans, targets based on the market circumstances is pretty important. Try to think about such things like, is every single season, every single month in my business the same? Do I have any dry months that might be pretty hard to hit the numbers that are being pretty easy in the top months, and so on and so forth? So oftentimes there are things that you can take into account while planning ahead in order to avoid the discouragement of your sales team. So these are the 4 top reasons why I think your sales team might not be performing. If you have any other ideas or you would like to understand your situation a bit better, let me know in the comment section down below. I'll be more than happy to help. Meanwhile, thanks for watching, have a great day ahead, and see you in the next videos.